So we have our database up and running, but we want to be able to talk to it using our controller application. Let's look at how to do it with Neo4j and Java. Note, in this demo we are using an outdated version of the Neo4j Java driver package. Specifically, our target version is 1.7.2, as we've specified in our maven pom.xml file. We also assume that your Neo4j database is on version 4.4.23, which is the last version to support the 1.7.2 Java driver. I'll talk about these two classes, Demo and Neo4j Books. The connect class that I have here is just holding some constant values, and in the end the demo code didn't make use of it. Demo is the main class of this project, which acts as a controller for the database. The purpose is to instantiate a new Neo4j Books object, which contains all the logic for communicating with the database. Then, through this main class, we have it insert an author node, a title node, then insert a book relationship. Finally, we print the book relationship. Now, let's check out the Neo4j Books object. The first thing to note is that we have several things imported from the Neo4j driver package. Auth tokens, config, driver, and graph database are all related to the setup of the driver, which you use to communicate with the database. You use session and transaction to perform specific actions on the database, and StatementResult is a wrapper that a Neo4j database query returns to the Java application, which may or may not contain some data that you want to use. So we have two attributes here, one for the driver and one for a string which is the URI of the database. In our constructor, we set the value of the URI. If you use the default port from Neo4j, it should be 7687, and it uses the Bolt protocol. Then you instantiate the driver. This config line is needed as a workaround for this outdated Neo4j driver. You specify the username and password for your database here too. Now we move on to our methods that interact with the database. We have three insert methods, insert author, insert title, and insert book. In each of these, we do the same thing, a try statement with parameter session of type session, which is assigned the return value from a call to driver.session. And then inside we do session.writeTransaction. And then inside we do this lambda expression, tx lambda tx.run, and for the parameter we write the applicable cipher query that we want to run on the database. Then we make sure to close the session off. We're done with this transaction on the database, and we want to save that change. We also have this printBook method, which demonstrates retrieving info from the database. Again, we set up our try statement for the session, but this time instead we have another try statement, this time for transaction tx, which is assigned the return of session.beginTransaction. Now we do our logic for doing our lookup query. StatementResult node boolean is assigned the return of tx.run, and then we put our cipher query there. So what is returned is a wrapper object of type StatementResult, and it can be iterated over. You can use the hasNext method to see if it has a next value to retrieve. Then use the next method to retrieve the record that's inside. This is yet another wrapper class. We use the get method on the record with parameter 0. This is one more wrapper class called value, which you then convert to the desired output value using methods like asInt, asString, etc. There are Java doc files for StatementResult, record, and value on the internet. I've put the links in the description. Note, if you have more than one result returned from your query, then your StatementResult would consist of more than one record, and as noted previously, you can iterate over the records inside a StatementResult. One more thing that I want to show you is the path class. It is the Java representation of a graph traversal result. Paths are made up of segments, which contain nodes and relationships. If you have more than one path returned from your query, then the other paths would be inside the following records inside of the overarching StatementResult.